Okay, the time is approximately 6:03 p.m., April 11th, 2024. Farragut Board Mayor and Aldermen meeting will now begin. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen in attendance. I want to thank you for your presence at tonight's Board Mayor and Aldermen meeting. I'm Ron Williams, the fourth elected mayor of the town of Farragut. We appreciate that each of you has taken your time from your busy schedule to attend tonight's meeting to see how our town government works. All Farragut Board Mayor and Aldermen meetings are public notice per Tennessee state law. All board meetings are recorded and can be viewed at a later date. As you walk in tonight, please pick up a copy of tonight's agenda at the door. For residents that would like to speak, please pick up a blue card at the door and write in your name and the agenda number you wish to comment on. There will also be time reserved at the end of the meeting for citizens' comments on non-agenda subjects, which also requires that you fill out a blue card with citizen comments this time that you wish to speak. On each agenda item, the mayor will ask the town recorder for residents' input. During this time, any Farragut resident wishing to speak to the board on that agenda item may do so for up to 3 minutes tonight. Again, after being recognized by the mayor, please go to the podium microphone in order to be heard and viewed by all. To conduct efficient business-like meetings, the town has adopted rules for how its meetings will be conducted. Primarily, these rules are designed to keep the meeting moving, ensure that all points of view are heard and considered. We ask that you observe the established meeting rules when addressing the board. Okay, we're going to have a meeting call to order. We'll start tonight's meeting with a roll call by our town recorder for a quorum. Afterwards, I ask that we all please stand for a moment of silent prayer, which will be followed by the Pledge of Allegiance to our country's flag, which will be led tonight by Vice Mayor Louise Powell.
Alderman Burnett.
Here.
Alderman Meyer.
Here.
Alderman White.
Here.
Vice Mayor Povlin. Here. Mayor Williams.
Mayor Williams here.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, I would like to first to recognize our elected officials that are in the audience tonight. Looks like we have Mayor Jacobs, Gina Orster, John Schoonmaker. We have Ed Schaus, one of the past elected members. We also have one of our founding members of the town of Farragut, and that's Eric Johnson. Okay, approval of the agenda. I think, Mr. White, you want to be recognized?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I would like to, if Mr. Hale doesn't mind, I would like to have his legal opinion upon whether item 5 should be on the agenda or not, since it was voted in at a special meeting. I just need a legal opinion on whether that doesn't violate the charter.
Okay, we'll turn the floor over to our lawyer, Hale.
Thank you. I would thank Mr. White for letting the friggin' attorney give his opinion tonight about this subject. He and I get along very well, particularly when we're not in these meetings. I would like to point out that Mr. White has raised an interesting issue. There is a provision in the charter of the town. In the charter of the town is the standard statutory charter as set forth in Tennessee Code Annotated. And we've adopted that charter, and we live by that charter. And when that charter gets amended, our charter gets amended, but it has to be amended by the legislature because it's part of the Tennessee Code Annotated. So one of the provisions of the charter has to do with the duties of the mayor. And one of the provisions of there's several duties of the mayor laid out in the in the charter, but one of them is number 4, pardon me, and it says the mayor may call special meetings of the board upon adequate notice to the board and adequate public notice. And B, shall state the matters to be considered at the special meeting, and the action of the board shall be limited to those matters submitted. So as I understand it, Mr. White is objecting to the fact that the motion was made at the board's last meeting to place the motion to rescind, and number 2, the renewal of the motion to approve the growth plan as amended on the agenda for tonight's meeting. So we didn't vote on anything last week related to the motion to rescind or the renewal of the motion, but there was a request made to put it on the agenda for tonight, and there was a motion made to do that. So Mr. White asked the question, is that a violation of the charter, and if so, what does that mean? Well, his contention is, I guess, that the motion should not have been considered at the last meeting because it was a special called meeting for the specific purpose, and that purpose did not include consideration of a motion to put 2 items on the agenda for tonight's meeting. My point on this would be this. The rules and regulations of the town do not require a vote of this body to create the agenda or to place items on meeting agenda for this board to consider. The board doesn't have anything to do in developing the agenda. The inclusion of items that require action by this body and thus the creation of a meeting agenda is placed in the hands of the town administrator. He makes those judgments as to what is on the agenda, and the town recorder and the town administrator make sure that the agenda is properly advertised and posted so that everybody in the public knows what the meeting is about. So if we assume that the action of approving the motion to put these items on the agenda tonight was not an appropriate motion, what's the harm? In my view, no foul, no harm. In spite of whether or not the motion was made and or approved, following our normal procedure, which does not require or involve the board voting on anything, the items were placed on the agenda like they normally would be. They're properly advertised, and they've been noticed to the public. As evidence of that, all of you are here. So my question to you would be, in my opinion is, it would be a disservice to you who have shown up tonight, having gotten notice of this meeting, if for some reason we didn't have the meeting and put this off to a later time. So my opinion is, there's nothing illegal. If we violated it, we put everything on the agenda the way we normally do. It's been properly advertised. Everybody's here. They can speak and deal with the subject. So that would be my opinion on that.
Alderman White, did that satisfy your request?
You explained it very well.
Okay, sir.
Thank you.
Good. We'll move on then to any agenda amendments.
No, sir.
None?
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay. Ask the town recorder to take a roll call vote, please.
Alderman Burnett.
Yes.
Alderman Meyer.
Yes.
Alderman White.
Oh, no.
Okay.
Vice Mayor Pavlin.
Yes.
Mayor Williams.
Mayor Williams, yes. Okay, the agenda has been approved as posted. Approval of minutes. Any amendments to the posted amendments?
No, sir.
Move
Okay.
to approve.
Second.
Okay, this will be to approve the February 22nd minutes,
March 28th.
March 28th.
or excuse me, March 28th. Okay, if that's the case, I will ask all in favor, please say yes.
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 Okay, let the record show March 28th, 2024 minutes have been approved as posted. Next will be approval of the April 3rd special call meeting minutes.
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay. Town recorder for roll call vote on that one.
Alderman Burnett.
Yes.
Alderman Meyer.
Yes.
Alderman White.
No.
Vice Mayor Pavlin.
Yes.
Mayor Williams.
Mayor Williams, yes. Let the record show the minutes have been approved. Okay, next, I think I'll call up Mark Shipley.
Good evening. I'm Mark Shipley, Community Development Director. I've got some good news for you all.
Can't hear you.
Oh,
Mike's dead or something.
No, it's,
You gotta just talk really close to it.
okay. I have some good news to tell you. We've waited a long time for this, and we've worked hard. And finally, in February, a couple of months ago, the town of Farragut was awarded a Tree City USA designation by the Arbor Day Foundation. We're one of only 3,600 communities nationwide. And to help commemorate this, we have a guest that's come here all the way from Nashville, which I greatly appreciate her coming, Ashley Kite Rowland. She's Tennessee Urban Community Forestry Program Coordinator. And she's going to step up and talk briefly about the Tree City program, what it takes to be a Tree City. And then we're going to present the mayor with a plaque over there against the wall that recognizes the town as a Tree City USA. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Ashley.
I told Mark I'm not used to speaking with my back to the room, so I'm speaking to all of you, but especially all of you. So my name is Ashley Kite Rowland, and I'm the Urban and Community Forestry Coordinator for the state of Tennessee. Many people think about forestry as just fighting fires, and we do that throughout the state, but we also work with communities just like yours in making sure that your trees are cared for and that your canopies are preserved. And so that is what my program does. And we also oversee the Arbor Day Foundation programs throughout the state. So on behalf of the Tennessee Department of Agriculture and the Division of Forestry, it's truly an honor to be here with you today to celebrate your first Arbor Day. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So for many of you, it's probably your first time. Can you hear me, everybody? Okay. For many of you, it's probably your first time celebrating Arbor Day. And you might not know what it's about. It's about trees, of course, but Arbor Day has been celebrated throughout our country since 1872. It's a national celebration that started in Nebraska and came to Tennessee in 1875. So this is the 149th year that Tennessee has been celebrating Arbor Day. You are joining 60 other communities throughout the state of Tennessee. So you will be doing that annually, I hope. Arbor Day is about more than planting trees. I know that you planted a tree out there today, and we celebrate that. But it's about maintaining trees. Trees take work. So you plant them, we need to water them, we need to manage the trees we have, because if we don't care for them, we can lose our community tree canopy cover. And there's numerous benefits that come with trees that you are providing through your care to the people that live in your community. So this is an annual recognition that we provide because caring for trees is an everyday, every week commitment. And by getting this recognition this year, you're demonstrating that commitment to tree care in the town of Farragut. So this is something that you all have to achieve every year. And these are the things that you have to achieve. You have to have an active tree ordinance. You all adopted that tree ordinance, as I understand, in 2022. Is that correct, Mark? You have to have an active tree board or an advocacy group. I think your all's meets quarterly, which is fabulous. Congratulations. You have to celebrate Arbor Day, which you are doing here today. So I'm here to celebrate with you. And you have to spend at least $2 per capita on tree planting, care, and maintenance throughout the year. I'm happy to say that you all far exceeded that expenditure allotment as you expended $3.01 more than that by $5.01 per capita on tree care and maintenance. And oftentimes that number is low. So you may spend even more than that. So congratulations on your commitment to caring for trees and showing that through your financial expenditures. So I just want to say that it's really great to have you all on board. I hope to come back and celebrate with you annually. And on behalf of the state foresters, she just wanted to say congratulations and that she hopes that she can come celebrate with you in the years to come. And I do want to thank Mark for the hard work that he has put into this. He has worked with me and my predecessor, Diane, on numerous occasions, just making sure that all the boxes were checked. This is a national program. I review the applications, and then it goes a step above. So you all have met the criteria from numerous levels and numerous organizations. So congratulations to you, and congratulations, Mayor. And congratulations truly to everyone here in Farragut, because your trees provide so many numerous benefits and ecosystem services, and we live in a really beautiful community. Thank you.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure, Mayor. Yes, and you can tell me to go sit down. I put all the cameras in here to celebrate our crew.
Many of them in my freaking yard.
Mark, thank you for all your efforts here. I think this has been a long time coming, that we've been working on this for some time, and I know it's been a lot of work, a lot with everything else you have going on, but really proud of this. The trees are very important to us, and as we start to work, maybe we can get Bud off the street tree issue, and we can start planting some really great street trees as well. So.
Okay, thank you. That's all I have. You have anything else, Mayor? You do not. And then we will move on to resolutions. We have 3 resolutions to review and consider tonight. The first will be approval of motion to rescind the March 28, 2024 Farragut Board of Mayor and Aldermen vote denying Resolution R 2024-02, a resolution approving the original Knox County Growth Plan as amended by the recommended changes approved by Knox County Growth Policy Coordinating Committee at its meeting on January 10th, 2024.
Mayor, this item is a follow-up of a previous item that the board denied on March the 28th, 2024, of Resolution R-2024-02. At a subsequent meeting of the Board of Mayor and Aldermen last week, at a special called meeting, specifically on April 3rd, the board asked to put this item on your agenda to vote to rescind the previous motion that was made in denial of the March 28th meeting. So the proper motion before you is approval of motion to rescind the March 28th, 2024 Farragut Board of Mayor and Aldermen meeting. Vote denying Resolution R-2024-02, a resolution approving the original Knox County Growth Policy Plan as amended by the recommended changes approved by the Knox County Growth Policy Coordinating Committee at its meeting on January 10th, 2024.
Move to approve.
Second.
Thank you. Resident comments?
Yes, sir, we have a couple of speakers tonight. Our first one is Gerald Thornton.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Thornton, please step to the microphone.
Good evening. I'm wearing a couple hats tonight, but for this purpose, I am, first of all, I live at 413 Sugarwood in Farragut. The hat I'm wearing right now is chairperson of the Harvey Broom Group of the Sierra Club, and I'm speaking for the group. As you will recall, I spoke before you voted to reject the growth policy plan on March 28th. Based on Alderman Meyer's change of position on April 3rd, it appears that you will now reverse your decision and vote for the plan. For the reasons stated then, I continue to urge you to reject the plan, not because it is all bad, but because it could be so much better than it is. Although Mayor Jacobs rejects the idea, what really should happen is that the Growth Policy Planning Committee should be reconvened to revise the comprehensive plan and the growth policy plan to provide for a more sustainable future for all of Knox County. As written, the growth policy plan does not put firm requirements on the county commission to write zoning rules that will effectively protect forests or mature trees, important wildlife habitats, prime farmland, wetlands, and steep slopes and ridgetops. Nor does it identify any locations for new county parks or require any degree of energy efficiency in future developments. Most important, it does not clearly mandate that adequate infrastructure, such as improved roads, sewers, water supply, internet, and electricity, be in place or committed to by the developers before zonings are changed to approve new developments, and it allows more than one dwelling unit per acre in rural areas. Because state law requires that zoning rules in the county be consistent with the growth policy plan, we think it's essential that the growth policy plan be revised with our suggested improvements before the county begins its revision of the zoning ordinance, scheduled to take place over the next couple of years. If these improvements are not made, the zoning ordinances may be amended in ways that ignore the non-mandatory nature of the comprehensive plan and the growth policy plan. The Sierra Club plans to stay involved in this process as the county commission amends its zoning ordinances. We can only hope that the deficiencies in the growth policy plan will not manifest themselves in bad zoning laws that allow developers to do whatever they want. For what it's worth, we again ask that you vote against the proposed growth policy plan and ask the county to revise the comprehensive land use and transportation plan and create an enforceable revised growth policy plan, and insist that the new comprehensive plan and growth policy plan contain the sustainability elements that I mentioned above and on March 28th. Thank you.
Thank you, Jerry. Next.
Our next speaker is Daniel Sanders.
Hey, Daniel.
Good evening, and thank you again, Mayor, Board of Aldermen. Daniel Sanders, 920 Volunteer Landing. I'm here on behalf of citizens of the town of Farragut, and I'm here on this item to suggest that both of these items on your agenda are not validly on your agenda, but it's for quite a different reason than the town charter or your procedures for putting things on the agenda. Quite simply, the state law that establishes the requirement for growth policy planning doesn't allow you to reconsider a rejection. Tennessee Code Annotated 658-104 sub 5 states clearly that if any municipality rejects the recommendation of the coordinating committee, then the municipality shall, now underscore shall, submit its objections and reasons therefore for resolution in accordance with subsection B. The word shall is important because it indicates a mandatory provision of state law. And regardless of what your charter says or what your procedures are for putting things on the agenda, you must follow state law. State law does not allow you to reconsider your rejection. It mandates that you state your objections and reasons therefore and submit those for resolution in accordance with subsection B. Subsection B of this statute, section 104B1, states clearly that if the county or any municipality rejects the recommended growth policy plan, then the coordinating committee shall reconsider its action. In this case, the growth policy committee recommended approval. On March the 28th, this body rejected the recommendation by a vote of 3-2. Just a moment ago, this body approved the minutes from that meeting, rejecting the recommendation of the coordinating committee by a vote of 3-2. I submit to you that under the state law, under the mandatory provisions of state law, it is not proper for you to rescind that rejection. There is no provision in state law allowing you to do that. And it's not at this point, prior to reconsideration of the recommendation of the Growth Policy Planning Committee, for you to reconsider this at this time. The last time you guys considered this, each of you, Alderman Burnett, Alderman Meyer, Alderman White, stated very valid reasons why you voted to reject the plan. Those remain valid, and I will address the substantive problems with the plan when I'm allowed to speak again. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Adam Atherton.
Good evening.
Hey, Adam, how are you?
Very good, sir.
Good.
No, Adam.
Hey, good evening. Adam Atherton, 801 Andover Boulevard in beautiful Farragut. Mayor, I've been plain and vocal about my opposition to the growth plan amendments as written. I even provided my specific concerns to members of the board. But right now, I want to raise a different procedural concern that Daniel just brought up and actually Alderman White and our town attorney just mentioned, and that's about the motion and vote at the end of the special meeting. I wrote to you and all four aldermen regarding this concern shortly after the recent special meeting. I have not seen any response, so I'm bringing it to your attention again. I assume you're aware of the simple and specific Town of Farragut ordinance for special meetings, such as held on 3 April. The ordinance is clear even to the layman. Article 2, Section 221 says, the charter authorizes the mayor to call special meetings of the board. Special meetings shall also be called by the recorder in the written request of any two aldermen. Such written request shall state the reason for the special meeting, and the action of the board shall be limited to that matter and that only. The Town of Farragut Charter reinforces this in 63106 under the duties of the mayor that were just mentioned. At the beginning of the special meeting, Mayor, you stated the reason for the special meeting. It said in part the meeting is to consider a statement of objectives and reasons, therefore, regarding resolution R 2024-02 and the vote to reject the recommended changes to the existing growth policy that were proposed by the Coordinating Committee on 10 January 2024. Note there's no mention of any vote to reconsider the previous vote on the amendments, only to hear the reasons for the no votes. Later in the meeting, you said to Alderman White, we need to follow what we are here for. Presumably, you were referring to the sole resolution you read at the beginning of the meeting. Later in the meeting, as part of his prepared statement, Alderman Meyer requested a vote to rescind the entire vote on 28 March because he changed his mind at the verbal assurance from the Knox County mayor and staff. This change would flip the outcome from fail to pass, presumably. This motion is counter to the constraints placed on you by the ordinance read earlier and should not have been held. In other words, the motion to add a vote to reconsider and re-vote on Knox County growth plan was illegal and improper per the ordinance, which you are obligated to follow. I ask for tonight's vote to be immediately tabled, and if BOMA wants to revisit the original vote, to do it in a proper and legal manner, including noticing and timing. The outcome of tonight's vote may not stand given the violations noted here. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Michael Wilson.
Adam, leave you with the handout.
Thank you, Michael.
Good evening, Michael Wilson, 412 Eisenhower Street, Farragut, Tennessee. I want to start tonight by recognizing the Knox County Mayor's Office support for the removal of the planned residential zoning district at 2 to 5 units per acre from the rural living place type. This change will ensure their plan is consistent with the growth policy plan as required under Tennessee Code Annotated 6-58-107. However, this removal requires approval by the Knox County Commission, and I hope that they approve this change as they finalize their plan. I want to express my gratitude to Mr. Jim Snowden from Knox County, who advised that the Choteau Small Area Plan is currently being worked with an expected start date this summer, pending an RFQ announcement and review process. With all that said, I want to talk a little bit more about traffic on North Shore. As Vice Mayor Pavlin demonstrated in her recent presentation, the Highway Capacity Manual states a 2-lane road with left turn lanes can accommodate up to 18,300 daily trips for a level of service rating of D or E. My handout I just provided you shows the 2023 traffic count on North Shore Drive west of the Concord Road roundabout as being 16,783. With the current and recently approved Choteau residential developments, we will soon exceed that 18,300 daily trips number, and this road will be failing. Tennessee Code Annotated Section 6-58-102 states one of the purposes in establishing a growth policy plan is that it, quote, more closely matches the timing of development and the provision of public services, which, unquote, which I would assume includes roads. The North Shore Drive numbers show that Knox County has failed to meet this purpose. To be blunt, we have a real problem on North Shore Drive, and any future Chodo development, even development at 2 units per acre, will soon gridlock this area. This forces more traffic into Farragut. Why is this an acceptable position to this board? Why aren't you advocating for improving North Shore all the way to Pellissippi, or cease new developments in Chodo until the road is fixed? These are reasonable questions. Tonight, you are in a position to really change how future road improvements are handled. The only way for you to do that is to include new language in the growth policy plan. That language should require failing or near failing levels of service be addressed and remedied during the new development approval process. We cannot continue to approve developments and neglect the needed road improvements, whether it's in Chodo or somewhere else in this county. This approach is a safety issue and only kicks the can down the road when costs are higher. David brought that up in the CIP discussion earlier, how prices are only going higher. So tonight I'm asking you to lead boldly. You have the chance to create a legacy of responsible growth, but it will require real courage. I ask you to use your voice to speak for the Farragut residents and our shared values. Seek to strengthen this plan by adding the language I've discussed. I ask that you reaffirm your original vote and negotiate a real solution. If you don't do this tonight, then when will it get done? 20 years down the road? Thank you.
Our next speaker is Eric Johnson.
I don't think the mic was working very well. If I don't knock it over. Is it working now?
I can hear you.
My name is Eric Johnson. I've been a resident of Farragut for very close to 50 years. I was involved in the founding of Farragut and served on the Board of Mayor and Aldermen more than 40 years ago. Back then, the Board of Mayor and Aldermen met, agreed on some issues, and disagreed on others. When the meeting ended, we walked away with respect for everyone. Occasionally, we go eat or discuss family and friends. Meeting attendees behaved. Since then, I've kept up with Farragut, but attend very few meetings. I have seen growth for more than 50 years. I don't like some of the developments, but I look at the issues as a longtime homeowner. We are being overwhelmed with people moving here to get away from the problems where they previously lived. I understand why they're moving. The Board of Mayor and Aldermen is faced with challenging times. For more than 40 years, the misbehavior that now occurs did not happen. We are not a South America banana republic, and we do not accept the chaos of Chicago, Los Angeles, or New York. Alderman White, serving more than 10,000 people on the south part of Farragut, yet he only represents a few dozen people with completely negative attitudes. He does not respond to emails, phone calls, and does not reach out to the citizens. He does not attend workshops, including one this evening, budget meetings, assignment to the museum committee, or social events. He's unprepared for the meetings. The constant reference to laws and their meanings, including his personal opinions, is called practicing law without a license and is irrelevant. Alderman White owes the county mayor and county commissioners who attended last week's meeting an apology for his behavior. His actions and behavior has cast a shadow over our community. If not interested in representing all citizens of Farragut and spending the time necessary for the position, it is time for Alderman White to step down. We cannot afford to tolerate this any longer. Our community deserves leadership that embodies respect, professionalism, and dedication. I will end by quoting Ronald Reagan. The world is divided in two kinds of people, those who can and those who criticize. We need the people that can. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Mike Mitchell.
One thing, Mayor, I wasn't going to run again, but darn, I'm doing so good, I think I'll run again.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Aldermen, County Commissioners, and Mayor Glenn Jacobs. Concerning this item, we've heard, I won't be redundant, we've heard other people talk about the charter. I want to address what the town attorney said. What harm is there? The harm is the charter is objective, not subjective. It's very clear what the charter said. I object to this vote. This puts a burden on the people. Do we have to hire an attorney? Do we have to go to court? Because that appears the path that's in front of us. This process, from the very beginning, has been very, very difficult for citizens to be able to get any concessions. Mr. Wilson and I are working with the mayor's office on 3 concessions. We spoke on the radio Sunday. The mayor was asked about the concessions. We have worked with his aide, Mandy Benedict, and quite frankly, I think they're doing fine. The problem is the assurances given Alderman Meyer are not the mayor's to make. They're the county commission, and there's no way they can make those assurances. And this is the problem. I would prefer that this go to mediation. Going to mediation is better than going to court, which appears to be the path we're on. The charter is not subjective, and I'm afraid that the town attorney's statement of what harm there is a subjective statement. I object to what you're doing. Thank you.
Our last speaker, our final speaker for this item is Bill Johns.
I just have a point of clarification before we start. Town Attorney Hale, maybe you can answer this, and maybe Mr. Meyer. In your conversations with Knox County Mayor Jacobs, was anything, a memo of understanding, a contract, an addendum, or how as non-lawyers say, was anything put in writing on these agreements?
What agreements are you talking about?
Alderman Meyer says he is satisfied with everything being said. I'm just curious if there was. If there wasn't, that's fine.
But there wouldn't be.
Okay, thank you very much. Well, what shall we begin? Bill Johns, 509 Sundown. It's been a while, but good to see a lot of good friends here, and also some frenemies. With that being said, I moved to town of Farragut just because we wanted to. But prior to that, in 1996, when I started MBA school, there was something called Metro government going on. And while I was in school, I helped defeat that. Anytime I see something like Advanced Knox or whatever type of program, it always leads to trying to become something else. This is going to be on a program for us to become like of a little Atlanta. And I just don't like that. Farragut is a great place to live. The founders here and the whole history started because they didn't like being bullied by others. So the way I look at it, with listening to Law Director Butte, there's no sense of urgency. I'd rather this Board of Mayor of Aldermen, reject this plan tonight and look at going towards arbitration. I'll deliver the letter myself to the Secretary of State. I haven't seen Trey since we served on IFC and SGA together 30 years ago. But if you do that and open up an opportunity for us to give some more inputs, maybe you could have something put down in a written form that is needed, some assurances. That is exactly what we need going forward on this. I just don't understand. For once, the town of Farragut has a big chip at the table. We are giving away a huge negotiation position. We shouldn't do that. At stake for us is hundreds of millions of dollars of home equity value. And that's because skyrocketing prices for our homes is actually a good thing. That's called a seller's market. And that will attribute to just the way of doing business. Speaking of doing business, I don't appreciate Mayor Jacobs' reaction to the first time you guys voted this down. His press release on the 29th of March goes in because this is the right thing to do. Well, representative government is our founders, with the Republic. 3 of the 5 here, 60% of our community said that's a good thing. It works. Our process works. Being able to say that, on the other hand, Knox Farragut's not going to be impacted, we're going to be impacted everywhere. And lastly, increase of homeless problems. Well, that's a city, Knoxville problem, having a sanctuary city. And when we talk about higher taxes, maybe we should be building stadiums and overcrowding our schools. Just a thought. Please reject this.
That concludes our speakers.
I want to thank all the speakers that stepped up and spoke. This moment we will do discussion. We'll start out with Alderman White.
The only discussion I would have, Mr. Mayor, is although I highly respect Mr. Hale's opinion, I respect Attorney Hale's opinion a great deal, but I seriously disagree with him. He's told me many times I'm not a lawyer. The gentleman that just spoke reminded me again I'm not a lawyer. I didn't know I was pretending to be one, but I can read. And I think the law is specific. I think this should even be here. And when you think about it, the mayor has the right to remove it from the agenda if he wanted to and put it back on another agenda later. It's not gone forever. He has that right, as well as 2 aldermen affixing a request in writing can get something on the agenda. So that's my only comment. It really shouldn't be here. We really shouldn't be voting on it again because it is definitely a violation of the charter. But hey, I'm just one guy.
Okay, thank you, Alderman White. Alderman Burnett?
No comment, Mayor.
No comment. Alderman Meyer?
Pass.
Vice Mayor?
No comment.
No comment. I have no comment as well. Discussion closed. I'll ask Town Recorder for a roll call vote, please.
Alderman Burnett.
No.
Alderman Meyer.
Yes.
Alderman White.
No.
Vice Mayor Poplin.
Yes.
Mayor Williams.
Mayor Williams, yes. Let the record show that we have approval. Motion to rescind the March 28th, 2024 Farragut Board and Mayor and Alderman vote denying Resolution R 2024-02, a resolution approving the original Knox County Growth Policy Coordinating Committee at its meeting on January 10th, 2024, with a 3-2 affirmative roll call vote for approval on April 11th, 2024 at approximately 6:46 p.m. Okay, next will be renewal of motion to approve Resolution R 2024-02, a resolution approving the original Knox County Growth Policy Plan as amended by the recommended changes approved by the Knox County Growth Policy Coordinating Committee at its meeting on January 10th, 2024.
Mayor, as the board has rescinded their prior vote, this is a renewal of the motion to approve Resolution R-2024-02. Again, this is a resolution that has come from the coordinating committee of the growth policy plan. They approved this back in January of this year, and the proposed motion is to renewal of motion to approve Resolution R-2024-02, a resolution approving the original Knox County Growth Policy Plan as amended by the recommended changes approved by the Knox County Growth Policy Coordinating Committee at its meeting on January 10th, 2024.
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay. Scott and Louise. Okay, any resident comments on this?
Yes, sir. Our first speaker is Gerald Thornton.
I've already said my piece.
Okay. Okay, thank you, Jerry.
Our second speaker is Daniel Sanders.
Thank you again, Mayor and Board of Aldermen. Daniel Sanders, 920 Volunteer Landing, Knoxville. I'm here on behalf of some citizens in the town of Farragut. Take issue with the fellow who spoke earlier about who's representing folks here in Farragut. This is a highly unpopular plan. There was a poll recently that showed 66% of likely voters in this town are against the proposal. It's also highly unpopular the way that you all are dealing with development and infrastructure here in the town. People are experiencing traffic, they're experiencing long wait times, they're experiencing overcrowding. 57% of people have an unfavorable view of the way you're doing that. And it's no wonder, because you have an attorney over here who will tell you there are ways that you can get concessions from a county or a municipality in connection with a growth policy plan. The state law specifically provides that you can enter into binding agreements with the county for various things. That's been done in the past. It should be done in this instance. And with respect, Mr. Alderman Meyer, it is not appropriate to, I guess, sell the town down the road with promises that have been made in a room somewhere in the city-county building. Those decisions need to be made in the public. There's a process for doing it in writing and getting a binding agreement with the county for whatever promises that have been made by the mayor. There's also substantive problems with the plan. The county invested substantial sums, $1.2 million in a study that revealed the county is operating at a $20 million annual deficit. That deficit is due in large part because of suburban sprawl. It's in the plan. It's buried in the appendix to the plan. And I've sent you, attached to my letter, the fiscal impact analysis. This is a very detailed analysis, but the slides here are sort of dumbed down so that anybody can understand them. You'll see here our costs exceed our revenue, $20 million every year. There's even a graph that shows where the negative impact on our revenue is coming from. It is suburban sprawl in the outer parts of the county. I'll submit to you that the growth plan that you're asked to vote on is a sleight of hand. The rural area, under a preferred scenario developed on the analysis, the numbers support 2 acres to 10 acres of density in the rural area. The plan you're voting on allows suburban sprawl at 2 dwelling units per acre. There are other problems with the plan. We ask that you reject it. I reiterate that this is not a proper vote tonight. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Bob Cross.
Bob Cross, 425 Heathermore Drive, President of the Smithfield Homeowners Association. I'm speaking on my behalf, not on behalf of the association. I first just want to express appreciation for the revote. There have been a lot of really good people within the county that have worked on this for many, many years. A lot of effort's been put into it. Growth is like a river. If you don't have a plan, that river's going to go wherever it wants to go. So I just want to express appreciation as a citizen. Other thing I'd just like to note, I'm glad I live here. This is a very civil conversation. We don't see that in a lot of places in our country now. I'm just very grateful for the comments, disagreements. I get that, respect that, but at least they're civil, and I do. Thank you for that. So that's all.
Thank you, Bob.
Our next speaker is Michael Wilson.
Are we using the other one?
No, you don't need one, Mr. Mayor. Good evening. Again, Michael Wilson, 412 Eisenhower Street, Farragut. As you prepare for this vote, I want to remind you of the consequences approving this growth plan as written. Much of what's being promised by Knox County requires approval of their comprehensive land use and transportation plan. You have little or no control over that process. As I stated earlier, the Knox County mayor, in conversations with me and his staff, have agreed to essentially support removal of some things, the Choteau area study I mentioned earlier. And again, the reality is the Knox County Commission must approve all of those things. Here's what I want you to really hear. On March 6, the Knox News reported, the growth policy, quote, the growth policy plan was unanimously approved by the Knox County Commission on February 26th, contingent on the approval of the future land use map, which outlines specific development types allowed on parcels. Per the Advanced Knox website today, the Knox County Commission will consider the draft comprehensive land use and transportation plan and future land use map on April 22nd. There's a Russian proverb that was famously quoted by President Reagan. It says, "Trust but verify." Most of the implementation strategies that support this growth policy plan are contained in the county's land use and transportation plan. Just as their growth policy plan approval is contingent on the approval of the future land use map, it seems prudent that this body would make your growth policy plan approval contingent upon the approval of the county's land use and transportation plan and the future land use map as well. You ought to completely understand what's in that land use and transportation plan and how it impacts the town of Farragut before your final approval. If this approach is good for the county, it should be good for Farragut too. This contingency will allow you to ensure the proper alignment of these two plans as required by Tennessee Code Annotated 6-58-107, particularly in the areas that directly impact Farragut residents you represent. I ask you amend this motion and make it contingent upon your review and discussion of the approved Knox County Comprehensive Land Use and Transportation Plan and the future land use map. Based on the Knox County Commission schedule, that discussion can be done at the first BOMA meeting in May. This review and discussion would ensure that any agreements you've made with the county are included prior to your final commitment on the growth policy plan. Thank you.
Our final speaker is Mike Mitchell.
I want to return to what I said on March 28th. Choteau is a suburb of Farragut. It's not a suburb of Knoxville. And I want to tell you about the 5 hours I spent at the Knox County Planning Commission. The people of Choteau asked me to speak on their behalf on the rezoning at Harvey Road and North Shore Drive. That started out as 5 units per acre in the Planning Commission. 587 people contacted the Planning Commission. They were vehemently against that because it was a danger to public health and safety. The staff recommended 3 units per acre. We go before commission, and in commission, and I appreciate Commissioner John Schoonmaker, he said, once Advanced Knox is done, this will be 2 units an acre. Because of that, I make a substitute motion to make it 2 units an acre. And it had a second and appeared to have a voice vote for approval. But then, all of a sudden, things changed. And one of the commissioners got into a debate with the landowner on the price of homes. And it was very strange. He said that he felt, oh, let's get these down to between $350,000 and $415,000. That's affordable. Well, I don't think that's affordable. But the point is, you have no control over the Knox County Planning Commission. You have no control over commission. Even though people are having serious traffic accidents in Choteau, and even though we hear that this plan will reduce the density, what we're having is a gold rush. Today, the Knox County Planning Commission approved 2 developments that will add up to 72 homes in Choteau. No matter what happens, it's 18 to 24 months before the final density is done in Advanced Knox. It's going to create a gold rush. You have an opportunity now to send this to mediation. Otherwise, we're going to have to go to court, and we're going to have to try to nullify the vote tonight because it's illegal. Godspeed and good luck.
again, thank all the speakers. Looks like we'll start discussion again with Alderman White.
I have none.
Alderman Burnett.
Thank you, Mayor. I know many have been here for both of the other votes, and so I apologize if this is a little bit repetitive, but for anyone new, I want to make sure you understand where I stand. I do appreciate all the hard work that's gone into the process of updating the growth policy plan as well as Advanced Knox. I know it's been a long, thorough process, and there's been a lot of money spent developing it. There are absolutely parts of this updated policy that are both a positive for the town of Farragut and for Knox County, and I'm very grateful for that. I've been elected by residents of the town of Farragut to look out for and to protect the residents' best interests. So as I look at this plan, I focus only on the areas that have the potential to affect the town of Farragut either positively or negatively. The main parts of the plan that trouble me are, number one, North Shore. People ask me, why do I care so much about the Choteau area? The reason is because we have shared interests. This area is at a breaking point in regards to traffic and safety, and the current road conditions cannot support the traffic and activity that is already there. Transportation plan only has minor improvements to the area, leaving these residents in a tough spot. So if the area can't adequately handle the current traffic, how in the world can it handle what's coming in the next 12 months, much less the next 5 to 10 years? Using the handout that was provided by Knox County under the area designated rural, under the growth policy plan in Choteau, there's over 1,000 acres. Come in at 2 units an acre. On top of that, the possibility of the neighborhood commercial zoning that could be achieved by meeting one of the 3 stipulations. It's even more strain on an area that can't handle existing strain. Also noted in here, I won't get into much, but there's a large piece of property that, in my opinion, in the North Shore area that should be rural, that's planned growth, adding a lot more traffic. Another area that I'm very concerned about is Hardin Valley. Hardin Valley's exploded over the last 10 years, and under the new plan, the massive expansion of planned growth is all to the west of Hardin Valley, what we know is Hardin Valley proper right now. This planned growth area ends up extending almost all the way to Watt Road. So the question I ask myself is, in these new planned growth areas in Hardin Valley, how are people going to get to where they want to go? Essentially to, how to get east. Are they going to drive all the way down an incredibly crowded Hardin Valley area? There's not a chance. They're going to take any and every cut through they can, from Watt Road to Everett Road to Campbell Station. Currently, we already have cut through traffic on Campbell Station and Everett, and that's without basically the doubling of Hardin Valley's size in the planned growth area. So if this growth in Hardin Valley into the planned growth area would have been more concentrated on the east side towards Pellissippi, the impacts would have been very minimal to Farragut. But with these changes extending west to Hardin Valley and Everett and Watt, I believe it'll bring a lot more cut-through traffic into Farragut. Another area that I've highlighted before is the removal of the traffic impact analysis from Section 3.5D. If you do have neighborhood commercial zoning change request, I think it's the most prudent thing you could ask for to do a traffic study, and I don't like that that's removed. The last piece I'll say is the growth policy plan frequently refers to the comprehensive land use plan, which has not been adopted, as was pointed out. That plan could change after tonight, and we don't have a say in that. So we are put in a place where we must vote on the growth policy without knowing the comprehensive land use plan and how it could change either positively or negatively. At the end of the day, my email inbox has been full for 3 weeks, and I'm ready for that to be over. I'm ready for this whole thing to be over. But I believe in my heart that I'm representing the people in the best way that I can on the south side of Farragut by not supporting this. That's all, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Alderman Meyer?
Pass.
Well, then it's your turn.
My position hasn't changed since March 28th, so I have nothing.
Okay, I haven't either. Okay, with discussion closed, I ask Town Recorder for a roll call vote, please.
Alderman Burnett.
No.
Alderman Meyer.
Yes.
Alderman White.
No.
Vice Mayor Poplin.
Yes.
Mayor Williams.
Mayor Williams, yes. Let the record show, Resolution 2024-05 has been approved with a 3-2 roll call vote on April 11th, 2024 at approximately 7:03 p.m. Next, we're going to move on to ordinances. Tonight, we have 3 ordinances for public notice and review. We'll start with the public hearing on the second reading of Ordinance 2401, an ordinance to amend the definition of the public tree and street tree.
Time for everyone to get out.
Mayor, there's actually there's one more resolution that we need to address under that item.
Okay. Yeah.
Take a 5-minute break.
5-minute break.